In this video, we are going to be going over the exact questions you are going to be asking a man for marriage. Now, this video is for the sisters who are looking to get married. Either you're already talking to a man or you are interested in marriage. Maybe you just freshly got out of a divorce or another situation. Whoever you are, this video is going to be very beneficial. Now, who is this video not for? If you are stuck in your emotions and your feelings and you don't really believe in a strategy behind getting married, then I recommend that you don't watch this video, because this video is a strategy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to not get played, how to not waste your time, how to know if a man is actually serious for getting married to you. And therefore, you can get married and you can start half of your deen journey in getting to know this man and getting to build a family with this man, but you will not be able to do it unless you understand what I'm about to explain to you. Now, here is the core problem, is that many sisters fall into this, is that they get their feelings involved, they get the chemistry going, and they invest all of this time into a man who is not even ready for marriage. They then decide that, you know what, I'm going to wait for this man. Because if he's not ready now, he's going to be ready eventually, but eventually never comes. And then this man ends up either ghosting them or telling them that his parents aren't agreeing, or telling them that, oh, I'm not ready to get married. I don't have my finances figured out. I don't have a house. Where am I even going to take you? And this sister wastes weeks, months, maybe years of her time, of her precious time, of her actual hormonal, physical peak, where she could be having children, where she could be enjoying her youth with her husband. She wasted on this man, right? And you have to understand that men sometimes do some really crazy stuff. They will speak to you because they want to cope with their own emotions. They need this talking buddy. They need somebody who they feel connected to. Maybe they have these deep mother wounds and they're looking for that love that they didn't get from their mother somewhere else, so they search it within you. So you have to stay away from those weak men, because the strong man, you will understand very quickly that this man is not playing around. This man is serious about life, and he's serious about marrying you. Now, a man will only marry a woman when he is ready and when he is in a certain phase of life. I've already made a video on this. I'm going to link it down below. You should watch that video. It's going to clarify this message a lot more, right? Because a man, he could have the perfect 10 out of 10 woman, the girl of his dreams, but if he is not ready and if he is not in the right phase of life, forget marriage. He is not even going to be thinking about marriage, okay? It's not even going to be on top of his mind. He's just going to be like, all right, cool, well, what am I supposed to do about it? But I like spending time with this girl. I like building the feelings and the chemistry, and I like investing the time, right? So you want to stay away from that type of man. You want to get involved with a man who's actually ready for marriage, and he knows what phase of life he is in and what you can contribute into that phase of life. So if he is too focused on love or the connection and he's not stable, he's not going to marry you. But if he is busy, if he is focused, if he has a structured life, then the chances are he's more likely to be ready for marriage. And there is a reason why. A man who is ready for marriage is defined as the follow. He has confidence in his competence to protect, provide, and lead a woman and a marriage and a family. So he has confidence, he is certain that he has the competence, which means that he is smart enough, capable enough to protect a woman and a family, provide for a woman and a family, and lead a woman and a family. Unless he has that confidence and his competence in this area, he's not ready. And he knows he is not ready, okay? Now, another thing is he has a phase, right? So we're going to discuss this a little bit further here, is we have this triangle right here, okay? And this is a triangle that you need to remember before you speak to anybody, or if you're already speaking to somebody. This is a triangle you got to keep in mind, okay? This is a trifecta. The trifecta is he needs to be confident in his competence to lead, protect, and provide. Okay, if any one of these pieces are missing, if he's confident in his competence to protect you, yeah, because he's a big macho man, he can go fight for you, he's not ready because he can't provide for you. If he's confident in his competence to provide for you, but he can't lead you because he can't even lead himself, then he's not ready to get married. Okay, and if he's confident in his competence to provide and lead, but he can't protect you, he doesn't have a backbone, he won't be able to speak up against his own parents or his friends or protect you from any dangers of the world or protect your soul, protect you spiritually from the hellfire, from your akhirah being destroyed by this man, from shaitan. If he can't even protect you in that area, which is the highest form of protection, spiritual protection, then he is not ready for marriage, okay? So a man who cannot lead himself, he won't be able to lead a family. He won't be able to lead you, right? So you have to be able to gauge for this. This is the trifecta that you need to understand. Now let's talk about the phases. Now there's 3 phases, and I've defined these phases for simplicity, but I would recommend that you go watch that video because I've gone through these phases myself. I am a man, right? Look, the first phase is the building phase. He's building his career, he's building his income, he's building his stability. Now, in this phase, a man is very unlikely to be ready for marriage, okay? He might not have the confidence in his competence to be able to protect, provide, and lead a woman because he can't even protect and provide for himself. He can't even lead himself. Maybe he's leading himself. Maybe he's actually building something, but he can't provide for himself because he's still building his career. He's still building his income. He's still building his stability. Now, should this stop you from getting married to this man? Absolutely not. If you love a man and he has this building phase going on, that doesn't mean that you don't marry him. It just means that you're going to have to struggle a little bit more. The marriage might get delayed a little bit more. And if the marriage is quicker, then you guys are going to have to work on it together as he's going through the other phases of life. But here's the thing, is if he defines that this is the phase that he's in, he's also going to have to very clearly define the other phases and how you are going to fit into those phases later on, okay? And everything's going to make sense as we go through this video, so pay very close attention. So if he says that, okay, I'm building my career right now, I'm building my income, I'm trying to become stable, but we can get married, but eventually I am going to have a steady income. I'm going to move into consolidating phase, which I'm going to have my income steady and my systems are going to be steady. So in the beginning, you might have to buy less things. We might have to live below our means. We might have to actually struggle a little bit, right? Because I'm on the come up. So we're going to live a little simple life and I'm going to require for you to believe in me and be patient with me. But eventually when the income becomes steady, we can start moving into this place and start living this type of life and start having children at this time. And then when we have the expanding phase, which is when I am 100% ready as a man, then we can start having children and we can start building a legacy. But here's the issue with that, right? Is very few men are so organized with their thoughts and very few men have the plan behind this. Okay, so if you find a man who's in a building phase and they can actually define the other phases of their life as well and how you would fit into that, you got yourself a gold mine, sister. Take him and run. Get married to him, okay? But the chances are that he's not that, okay? And if he is, then alhamdulillah, mashallah, may Allah bless him even more. Okay, so we already talked about the next phase, which is a consolidating phase. Now, some men are in this phase, and this is a phase that a lot of men get married in, okay? They have a steady income, they have their systems ready, maybe they have a smaller house, maybe it's an apartment, they could bring you in right away. You guys can have like a nice wedding or nice nikah, and you can follow all your traditions or cultures, whatever it is, right? Even though it's not Islamic, some people like doing that stuff. It all depends on you. So this is a great phase for you to get married into a man, right? Get married to a man. And if the man cannot define this stage and how you fit into that stage, that is a red flag. Now, this is going to be the best option right here, is when he has built already, when he has consolidated already, and now he's expanding. Because this is going to be the most masculine man that you could possibly be with. So if you're a sister who wants to be taken care of, you want to be in your absolute feminine, you don't really want to worry about anything, you just want to come into his ecosystem and do whatever it is that he requires of you, he is a leader and he is a good leader, then he is going to get you into this phase, which is the expansion phase. He's going to get married to you, he's going to want to have children with you, and he's going to want to build a legacy that is surrounded by your family. So the question you have to ask yourself and the question you have to ask him is, how do you fit in? all right, to the phase that he's in. Okay, and what phase is he even in to begin with? So if he cannot define the phase that he's in and how you fit into that, then he's probably not a good fit for marriage, because he's not leading himself. He doesn't even know. He doesn't even have a plan. Why would you follow a man without a plan? Now, Allah is the best of all planners, but we should always have an idea of where it is that we want our life to actually go. We should always have an idea of what the destination should look like, okay? So if he doesn't understand what phase he's in, how you fit in, then you should run the other way, okay? If he understands it, great. That is a good man. This is a very, very good sign. This is a green flag, okay? So this is the first question you need to be asking any man once you are able to get comfortable with asking him. The first thing you should always do with the man, by the way, is you should always gauge for some sort of chemistry, okay? Some sort of polarity. We're going to go into that next, because once you understand chemistry and polarity, that's when you start optimizing for value. So this is more of a value-based question, but this question should really be asked in the first day. The second that you're interested in a man for marriage and you start to see, okay, this guy's chill, we can get along, we have some chemistry going on. Okay, well, what phase of life are you currently in, by the way? And if he doesn't know, okay, well, what's going on with your life? Are you currently building? Are you currently consolidating? Like, do you have a steady income? Or are you fully set? Are you just looking to expand? And when you ask him this question, he's actually able to define that and figure out where you could fit in, then it makes it very easy, okay? So if he's able to define it, the next thing you want to ask him is, well, if you were married, how would your wife fit into your current life? How would your wife fit into the current phase of life that you're in? Now, if he says that I'm building right now, and he's not able to define these on his own, if he says I'm building right now, and he's not able to take you through consolidating and expanding himself, then you got to ask him, be like, hey, well, you're building right now, but what happens when your income is finally steady? What is my role then? And what happens when you're finally expanding and prospering through life? What happens to my role then? You can ask him these questions, but a real man should know that these are his phases for life, and I'm going to now bring a woman into this phase, okay? But you can handhold him, because some men are completely oblivious and have not done the inner work or the journaling to actually figure out where he's going. You know, so you gotta kind of help him a little bit if he's not fully aware. But is that the standard? No, I'm not setting the standard. I truly believe every man should know. I would know, and a lot of my friends would know, okay? Now, this is the main thing that we're gauging for. Remember how I said that we have to figure out if you even have chemistry? Well, you have to figure out if you guys have attraction, if you guys have polarity, which is so, so important. You do not discuss any sort of values, anything about marriage, until you have realized that you have attraction and polarity to this man. You don't marry a man just because you guys align in values, or, you know, he has these phases fit in, and you see how you could potentially fit into his phases, right? You don't marry a man for that reason. That is part two. That is a big chunk of it. But the main thing is this, right? It's attraction, it's polarity. Now, there's two types of women in this scenario, and you're going to have to tell me which type of woman you are and what type of man you are going to want. So you can answer that in the comments section if you'd like. So either you're an active and driven woman, so you have independent thinking, you are a fast-paced mover, and you like high output. So maybe you have a career, maybe you have a business, maybe you just like to be on the go, go, go. You have a very active social life. You are just somebody who is moving. You are active. Now, some people can use the word masculine here. Sometimes that's not the appropriate word. I'm not saying that you're masculine, because I would associate masculine with more stress. However, you're just more active, okay? So in this case, you are going to need a more grounded, calm man who is going to be more grounded, more emotionally intelligent. He is going to understand that you are this woman who has this active lifestyle, and he's not going to be threatened by it, but he is going to allow for it and allow for your lifestyle to exist in the marriage and even amplify it, right? So he's going to figure something out, okay? The next type of woman is a soft and receptive woman. Now, this woman, straight off the bat, she does not really care about being independent. She's not fast-paced. She's not high output, but she wants provision. She wants leadership. She wants safety. I want you to think about the woman that just likes to stay to herself. She just likes to do her beauty routines. She just wants to stay home. Maybe she has a few friends, right? She's very, very feminine in her essence. This woman wants a strong masculine man. So this is how polarity is built, because this woman is a little bit more active, she is going to need a man who is more receptive. Because this woman is a little bit more receptive, she's going to need a man who's more active. Now, you can be a little bit of a mix in between this, so you're going to need a man who's a little bit of a mix in between these two, okay? So remember that no polarity equals no attraction, and no attraction equals no marriage. It doesn't matter if you guys align on values, okay? You're just going to become friends who are married. That sucks because you want to actually feel attracted to your partner, okay? And a good way to articulate this to you is that if you have a man who's active and driven and a woman who's active and driven, and you know, you guys aren't able to actually figure out how that's going to work, well, two leaders will always lead to some sort of power struggle, okay? And two passives will always lead to a stagnation. So if you have a very receptive man and a very receptive woman, the relationship is going to be boring because there's going to be no initiator, there's going to be no leader. You need the yin and the yang. You need the active and the receptive. You need the masculine and the feminine. That is how polarity is built. Now, the ideal polarity is always going to be the masculine man and the feminine woman, but we live in a world nowadays where that's not necessarily always going to be the case. Sometimes a woman is going to be more active, sometimes a man is going to be more receptive. Yes, you can say that's a more masculine woman and a feminine man. That's how I'm going to articulate that one to you. Let's talk about values. Now, this is the next step, the next logical step. So we talk about attraction first. You got to gauge for attraction. You got to see, is this man and is masculine, okay, or is he receptive or whatever it is. That you're going to see what type of phase they are in life. You are going to see where you fit in, and if he can define that for you, the next thing is you're going to talk about value. So technically, this is the third step, okay? Now, there are 6 values that are the major values that you have to gauge for in a marriage conversation. The first one is deen. Do you align in your values when it comes to your religion, when it comes to Islam, when it comes to deen? Okay, what is his take on certain religious concepts? What is his take on Salah? Is he Sunni? Is he Shia? What is his sector, right? You know, these things, even though I don't really care for them too much, but these are important to some individuals, okay? So you have to be able to align on your values when it comes to your deen, because it kind of leads into how you're going to raise your children. How are you going to raise your children is the next value. How are you going to raise them? What type of schooling are they going to receive? What are the do's? What are the don'ts? How were you raised as a kid? How was he raised as a kid? How does that align? What have you learned from all that? These are conversations that are very important. So deen and children right off the bat. The next thing that's super important is money. Who is going to be earning the money? Is it going to be both of you? Is it going to be just him? How are you guys going to be going about the money situation? Now, in Islam, the man is the protector, the provider, the maintainer of a woman. His job is to provide for her basic necessities or necessities in general. However, some women who earn money, her money is her money, by the way. This is 100% true. Some women would like to contribute through her own will. A man cannot force you to contribute. That is completely un-Islamic, by the way. If he says, oh, well, you have to provide into the household, unless you are okay with that, run. That is not a real man, okay? So money, who's going to be earning the money? How is the money going to be spent? Let's say he works, but you also have your own income and you would like to save up for your own stuff, for your own stability as a woman. But you know what, when it comes to some sort of family outings, you would like to pitch in, or you like to buy things for the kids, or you like to get groceries or something like that, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Maybe you don't want to spend any money at all. Maybe it's all on him, okay? Maybe it's the complete opposite. Maybe you just want to spend all the money and he just does whatever, which is a little lame, but that's me passing judgment, okay? I don't know. Some people have that situation. The next thing is the household. How is the household going to be running? What type of house are you going to be living in? What is it when it comes to the household? What type of house are you going to be living in? What type of household structure are you going to have? What are the rules of the household? What are some do's and don'ts? What are some strict boundaries that you have with your household? This is a household that you two are going to be building together. Now, the one main thing that you have to understand is that a man, a real man, should already have an idea of how he wants his household run. And a good way that I like to put this is that a man has already built his ecosystem. It is a woman that is coming in to nurture that ecosystem. It is her job to come in and amplify that ecosystem. So he already knows how his deen is set up and how he wants to raise his children and the type of money situation that he wants to have and the household that he wants to have. It is his job to tell you that, all right, well, this is how I have planned everything in my mind, you can come in and amplify it. And if there's some things you'd like to tweak, you can. That is going to be the most masculine man. But however, if you have a more active, driven woman, she's probably going to want to build this with the man, side by side, like a partnership, which is completely fine, by the way, as long as you guys are happy, as long as that works, okay? If it works for you, it works for you, okay? The next thing is family boundaries. What type of family boundaries do you have? For example, would you like to visit the in-laws? Would you like to go to family events? And would you like to attend all of the weddings in the family? Or, for example, maybe your family is very active. You guys like to hang out with each other a lot. And maybe he's not that close with his family, so he doesn't really like it, or maybe he's not used to it. This is something you're going to have to discuss, because some people like that. They love hanging out with families and friends. Other people don't, okay? And that leads me to the last one, which is conflict. Is there a system in place for conflict resolution? Has he already talked about what it is that you guys are going to do anytime there is a conflict? This is very, very important. And one thing that a lot of couples have done is, okay, we're not going to go to sleep angry with each other, but you have to maintain these rules. Like, if you set these rules in place, if Dan set these rules in place, or you set these rules in place, well, it's very, very important that you actually abide by these rules on how conflict management is going to go. And another thing here is you could talk about divorce, right? So there's a sister online who made a very, very good point, is that you should speak about divorce before marriage, because it gives you an idea of how the exit would be. Because yes, everything is cupcakes, butterflies, rainbows in the beginning when you're talking, but divorce in Islam is permissible for a reason, right? Sometimes relationships just don't work out, and you have to discuss, are we going to do a prenup? Is it going to be an Islamic divorce, which is recommended, by the way? Or are we going to be following some sort of Western agenda, the rules of the West, where everything gets divided 50-50? So you have to probably figure that out. Now, if you're very religious, I would obviously recommend the Islamic divorce. That is the most righteous way. We should follow the Quran, right? But again, up to you. However you want to do it. It is your relationship. It is your marriage. You guys have to figure out your own values. Lastly, these are the tests. This is very, very important. Now, you are not going to tell him about these tests, because a man will fabricate his answers so quick. It doesn't matter if he's the most honest man in the world. He will fabricate his answers so quick. You're going to see. You're going to gauge for lust. You're going to gauge for ego. You're going to gauge for generosity. And you're going to gauge for deen. How are we going to test this man? Now, first of all, as a woman, you're very good at naturally testing. You're a lot better at naturally testing than us men are. Okay, this is just how women operate. You guys test for survival purposes. Okay, so you're going to do a lot of this naturally. Now, you could tempt him a little bit, or somebody else can tempt him. And you want to see how he reacts to the lust test. This is the most important. Now, the next one is, how is he going to react to ego test? And the best way that you can do this is just disagree with him. He tells you about something that's super important to him. Now, I don't want you to be manipulative, by the way. This bad sister, don't do that, okay? But if there's something you genuinely disagree with him, disagree and see how his ego handles it. Because if his ego can handle it, if he stays grounded, if he stays strong, you got yourself a good one. Generosity. You want to see, is this man generous with his money? Is he generous with his resources? Is he generous with his time? Okay, so generosity with his time. So a good way to put this is, yes, he's probably going to be a little bit busy if he's more qualified as he's down in his latest phase. He's going to be a busy man, right? Well, when he's with you, is he present? Is he forgetting about everything? Or is he like half scrolling on his phone or texting while talking to you? So that's generosity, is actually having empathy and understanding that he's giving you his present time to discuss all of these things, right? And another way is maybe before the wedding, we could talk about meher, right? Which is very, very important. So this is one of the things that you have to discuss. If he's generous with his meher, that's very, very important. Now, the thing with meher is it could go any way. You could be asking for a trip to Umrah, or just him reading the Quran, super simple, or you can actually ask him for something valuable. Now, this depends on his situation, but ideally you should ask for something that would give you a head start to stability, okay? So if it's a small amount, if it helps you be stable, then great. So if it's a house, if it's a portion of money, if it's gold, if it helps you become stable, then that's great, because women should have stability. Me personally, as a man, I wouldn't want my wife to suffer after I pass. okay? Or if something happens to me, I just don't want her to suffer. I don't want her to have to get married right away because she's like, well, damn, now I'm so dependent on a man and I had this certain lifestyle. I'm going to have to marry another man, right? Even if she's in love with me and she wants to be married to me in Jannah, she's going to have to do it, right? Because she has to take care of herself. Or even worse, go struggle and hustle because she doesn't want to marry another man and she has to go in her masculine. Why would I want her to do that? So I would want her to have stability. I would want her to give her a good meher so that she has that stability. So a generous man would want to do that for you. And then deen. Is he generous in his deen? Is he reminding you to pray? Is he talking about deen? Is he sharing his values with deen? Is he telling you stories? These are things that are very, very important because this is spiritual leadership, okay? So you have to test him for these things, all right? And these are things that you do not mention to him. You just observe. You have to observe not only the words that are coming out of his mouth, but the energy in his actions, the things that he's actually doing. Lastly, you gotta have game, okay? Look, at the end of the day, girls just wanna have fun. You know this. You're a woman watching this. Maybe you're a brother watching this, but girls just wanna have fun. If he can check off all these boxes, but he has no game, he can't spike emotions in you, he can't let your brain turn off when you're around him and be present, and if he can't spike that chemistry amongst you, then he's probably not going to be a good fit for marriage because at the end of the day, sure, marriage can have all of these moving parts. It can feel like a contract. It can feel like this negotiation or this little business agreement, partnership, whatever, with all of these things. But marriage is also about love. It's also about connection. It's also about sakina. It's also about all the things that make marriage what it is, peace and tranquility. And you can't truly have peace and tranquility if a man doesn't know how to make you feel some type of way, help you turn your brain off, and then spike the chemistry within you. Okay, and a man has to be aware how to do that. And I teach men how to do that. So if you have this man, maybe you can guide him to my channel. I've had videos on how to speak to women. My next video is probably going to be how to speak to women in a descriptive way to make her feel those emotions and chemistry. So this is very, very important, all right? If you can't do this, then forget about all that. All right, he has to have game. He has to know how to make you feel some sort of emotion. Otherwise, you're not going to feel attracted to him. Anyways, that's all for this video. Hope this was valuable. Please subscribe to the channel if you like videos like this. I'm going to be making more videos specifically for sisters, not only about marriage, but business and healing and other things as well to bring you closer to Allah and thrive in life. And that's it. Like this video, share it, and may Allah bless you.